Yep.
Perfect. Yes.
Does everyone see that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. All good.
Okay. So may I just start?
Yep. Go
Okay.
for it.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. The pleasure to be here with you, sharing a beer in the distance. I'm gonna talk about the scenarios, the impact on retail on two different scenarios, Manhattan and Barcelona. The reason I picked both cities is because they are pretty similar in terms of retail. They are kind of twins or drops of water. So let's go. First of all, I'm going to start with a real situation, an anecdote that I lived 2 years ago when we were still allowed to travel. What a pity. I was in New York in order to meet the small businesses department at the city. I arrived there on the 8th of September of 2018, and 2 years before, by a coincidence, there was this article, this report on New York Times. This space is available. In this report, this guy here, the New York Times journalist, Corey Kilgannon, was telling us that there was an issue with occupancy in Manhattan retail. There were too many empty stores in Manhattan retail. Okay, as it was New York Times, the word spread very fast and everyone had an opinion on that because it was like a major issue, okay? How is it possible, Madison Avenue, 5th Avenue, having issues of occupancy, lack of stores? So everyone had an opinion there. First opinion I got was coming from Airbnb host, Victoria, you can see here. She said, Trump is screwing us because we don't vote for him. He has invented a new tax only to charge it on the retail. Okay, this was the first opinion I got. The second one was coming from this guy, the waiter at the restaurant I went to have lunch. He said, Amazon is killing the retail. For sure, this sentence ring some bells in your head. It's not the first to say, but okay. Amazon is seen like a Leviathan, this biblical fish that eats everyone, and in the end, we will all will be dead. Okay, another opinion. Finally, I met the guy from business, small businesses department at the city, Blaze, and I got from him, which I consider the most humble and earnest feedback, which was, look guys, I don't have any data about empty stores. I don't know where they are. So even if I had, I couldn't be allowed to tell if there is an issue because I'm not an analyst. Okay. So this was the scenario I wanted to show you in order to understand what's coming now. The New York City doesn't have the data, doesn't know where are any store in the city, how many restaurants are there, how many vacant stores, how many shoe shops, etc. And it's a very common scenario. I show New York because it's not a suspicious city of that don't expand on technology and data. So it's a clear example of what's going on any city in the planet. In order to do our report, to check this issue about occupancy and also do what's next about COVID, we took our data that we captured on issues. So I'm going to briefly introduce which kind of data we use. Well, maybe it will sound surprising, but we use the only data that you can use in order to do that, which is data coming from fieldwork. Fieldwork that is coming from a network of geographers that we've been building during the last 10 years that allows us to collect data all over the planet at any city, okay? So in order to analyze the retail in a city, we first walk the entire city, every street, we map every single store there, every single vacant retail space. So with this database, we are allowed to analyze the city. we have more than 3 indicators based on this database, from which I'm showing just 3, which are the ones that we usually use to set the retail health scenarios. Okay, we can check very fast any area, any urban area, and tell you if there is an issue with occupancy or low density retail or lack of attraction in terms of low presence of specific destination stores. Okay. So in order to understand the possible scenarios coming after the COVID and lockdown impact on retail, we only will pick the first indicator, which is the occupancy index. First of all, I'm going to show you Manhattan and then Barcelona. So this is Manhattan after we mapped whole city, every single store there. All the red dots are stores or are retail spaces that can be occupied or not. More than 30,000 retail stores in Manhattan with densities up to 1,000 stores per square kilometer in a city of 1.6 million inhabitants. So first thing we checked was occupancy. And as you can see here, New York Times was wrong. What a surprise. They said that there was an issue with occupancy in Manhattan, but there isn't, because the average occupancy in Manhattan is almost 90%, which is pretty cool, because you only have starting some issues when you go below 80% occupancy, okay? And in a retail dense city as Manhattan or Barcelona, for example, it's even more important to keep this in mind, okay? Because you have so many stores. So next is an image, a clear image that shows you what's going on right now with the lockdown. How are essential activities in white and non-essential activities in red, so you can appreciate the impact right now on retail. This is, I picked especially this area, which is South Houston Avenue, Soho, only to show you the most attractive area in the city, full of destination stores. Destination stores are not essential stores for the city, so they are all closed. So this is a dantesque scenario that you have there. Less than 20% occupancy right now. Next scenario, it's to explain which ones we know that are non-essential and essential activities. In order to evaluate the impact that it could have in the future, what we do is evaluate the risk that implies having one or another activity. For example, there are activities that, because they are not non-essential, they have a high number of workers, their products expire in a brief period of time. For example, in 2 months they expire, so they are completely waste. Or, for example, in their activity, they have a lot of contact with clients and clients amongst them. And these activities come to be restoration, which is on the right image, and apparel, clothing, jewelry, shoe shops, etc., the image on the left. So you can see here the importance of these activities in the city. And now we go directly to see the retail occupancy index on different scenarios. The first scenario is the real scenario before COVID. I showed it to you before. The second scenario is the actual scenario with the lockdown. Okay, you can see that it's almost all white because there is less than 20% occupancy. The third scenario is a medium impact scenario. This is a hypothetical scenario with a medium impact. Okay, medium impact for us in our hypothesis means that only personal equipment stores will be still closed before after the lockdown. Okay, we suppose that they have a huge, massive impact and they are completely destroyed. Okay, it's kind of catastrophic, but we wanted to do it right now like this in order to appreciate the worst case scenario. And the even worse scenario is the one on the right, which is the doomsday scenario. Okay, doomsday scenario is in Manhattan means full closure of apparel stores and 50% closure of restaurants and bars. Why 50% and not 100%? Because at least 50% of bars and restaurants in Manhattan, they have home delivery. So they have been allowed to proceed to keep their activity at a minimum during the lockdown. So that's why the impact could be less. But anyway, in any case, the impact will be massive. As I said, in the worst case scenario, almost a third of the whole activity in Manhattan could be in risk, could be damaged, which means in a medium impact scenario, 3,000 stores closed, less than they when started, or in a full impact scenario, 6,000 stores. Okay. So what would happen in Barcelona? Well, first, you see that Barcelona has a very huge dense structure, commercial structure. You are seeing here all the red dots that are stores in Barcelona. It's crazy. There are almost the double of stores than in Manhattan in the same area. Okay, stores in Manhattan are bigger. That kind of balances the situation. Up to 1,000 retail stores per square kilometer, and in 1.6 million inhabitants. So they are kind of twins at this point, very similar scenarios. How was that in occupancy in Barcelona before the lockdown? Well, it was pretty occupied with almost 80% average occupancy, which is good. We said that 80%, only below 80% starts problems, but if it's an average, it's cool. Then we have here the same thing as we said, so Manhattan, full impact on like the actual scenario of lockdown in Ciutat Vella, which is the old town, is the most touristic area, the most attractive area, the destination area. You can see here how the impact, how is now and how was before. Okay. Less than 50% activities are open right now. And we see here the heat map that explains you how activities at risk are clusterized or distributed along the city. Apparel has a very specific concentration on Ciutat Vella, and restoration is kind of spread all over the city, but also has a huge concentration in Parallel and Ciutat Vella. Well, this is the first two scenarios. They are kind of the same as in Manhattan. With COVID scenario, it's almost white, so it's almost everything closed. And then with the medium impact scenario, we see that almost every neighborhood in Barcelona will be in trouble in terms of occupancy. It will be clearly below 80%. In a medium impact scenario. In a full impact scenario, it will be really chaotic. It will be really catastrophic, almost white. I mean, there is a huge impact in this scenario, okay? We see it here, almost a third, more than a third of activities are in risk in Barcelona. In a medium impact scenario, you could expect 7,000 stores to close, and in a full impact scenario, the doomsday one, 18,000 stores, sorry. And that's all, folks. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks very much. Stephen, do we have any questions?
I've got one question here, Ed, just let me find it.